But as life has it, I moved into engineering and I hated it. And I asked my dad what marketing is all about. He showed me his books from IGNOW and I realized that this stuff is fun. I can do this, and there was no looking back.
Today on Flamcast, we are joined by Saurabh Bajaj. He's an author of Practical Marketeer and EVP of Prepaid Marketing for Vodafone Idea. He carries 20 years of work experience and have worked with organizations like Mondelez, Diageo and Britannia. With Sorab, we will be delving into how brand marketing is done and how it is evolving. What worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. We are not going to talk about basics. We are going to talk about some winning strategies for all the brands out there and what is coming for us in the future of marketing. Welcome to Flamcast, Saurabh. We are very delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Saurabh, I want to slip back to your earlier days. You have started with engineering and then you moved to marketing. This is a path which is less traveled. How did you transition from engineering to marketing? And do you use your engineering skills or analytical mind to the marketing strategies today?
Sure. Thank you. Great question. In fact, I always say that in an ideal world, I would be doing research in physics. I loved Big Bang, black holes, superstrings while growing up. And I had a deeply analytical view in life. In fact, got a 97 in my class 12 physics, and I was on my way towards becoming a scientist. But as life has it, I moved into engineering and I hated it. So I hated civil engineering. I hated, and then I tried various things, right? So I thought maybe I should do IES or IAS, and I just not finding joy in even the prep. So then I thought maybe I should do C++ because a lot of companies then were hiring from campus. And I would open this book of C++ and I will go to sleep. I was like, so I'm like, what is it that I'm going to finally do? And then this very interesting train ride back from Bombay to Delhi. I met these bunch of people, a guy and two women, and all three of them were doing marketing from Nidhi.
Okay.
And when I met them, I was like, these people are like me. They are articulate. They like to have a good conversation. What are they doing? Right? And that's when I discovered marketing.
Okay.
And I asked my dad what marketing is all about. He showed me his books from IGNOW. And I realized that this stuff is fun. I can do this. And there was no looking back. And people often believe is marketing an art or a science. While there is a creative and an art aspect of it, but I think the job of a marketeer is more science. And that's how in my book, The Practical Marketeer, I have decoded exactly how marketing is done in the form of simple frameworks and some clear principles that can guide you in making every decision that you have to make as a marketeer.
So, Saurabh, you have also transitioned from being a marketeer to being an author now. When we Google your name, the first thing that comes is The Practical Marketeer. Tell us more about it.
Great. So, as I went through my corporate career over the last 20 years, I realized that there are so many fundamental things that even senior leaders with, say, 30 to 40 years of experience may not have pristine clarity on.
Okay.
And I realized whether you are a student or whether you are a working professional or you could even be a senior leader, the way brand building is done, the way company strategies are run, is a bunch of simple, straightforward principles which can be decoded and democratized.
Okay.
So in The Practical Marketer, that is exactly what I've done. I've written it in a very simple layman language. It's like a startup kit. So a lot of startup founders have reached out to me. A lot of college professors have reached out to me saying that, this book should be a mandatory read across not just campuses, but also corporates, because it is a one-on-one guide in terms of how marketing or brand building or even business strategy really plays out.
So in your book, you emphasize on bridging academic theory into real-world example. You're also a visiting faculty to BIM Trichy. So how do you use this book to debunk some of the myth that is there in the textbooks?
Sure. So, very interestingly, all of the questions that we tackle as a marketeer, right? So, for example, how do I hire a celebrity?
Yeah.
What is the pros and cons of a celebrity versus just more advertising spend? Or why do companies do consumer promos? Consumer promos apparently destroy brand equity. Then why do you do consumer promos? What's the role of digital in marketing? What is consumer engagement versus advertising? Can consumer engagement happen without a digital, right? All of these questions are something that we ask, but I don't think anybody prepares you for them. And even when you enter a corporate, you keep rediscovering the wheel in terms of exactly how does it work out, what are the take rates, why do we do this, and all of this can be simply documented, broken down in the way I have done in my book. And hence, anybody who wants a toolkit to make all the fundamental decisions, those thoughts and concepts are there in my book.
So the title of your book, which is called The Practical Marketeer, that hints that much of the marketing is not that practical, it's impractical. Can you share an example where theory failed, but instinct or gut instinct of a marketeer come alive?
Sure. It takes me back to this interview which I had taken with Diageo, where the CMO once asked me in my interview, that Saurabh, how do you decide when you are faced with a problem, whether this is a sales issue or a marketing issue? So I said, boss, I don't think there is anything called a sales issue. Every issue is a marketing issue. And the reason why every issue is a marketing issue is because a marketeer is nothing but an entrepreneur hired by companies to run their business models.
Yeah.
Those business models are called brands. So brand is a P&L, it's a business model. And a marketeer needs to know every aspect of how that business or brand is run. And hence, marketing is not about ad campaigns or just glitz and glamour. It's not about just doing something innovative or exciting. It's about guiding your company into the future. It's about bringing the future alive today so you can make the right decisions today to guide the ship, into the unknown.
Now you have put a lot of spotlight on all the marketeers. So, sort of, there are so many books on marketing there. How did you feel, and what was the need of launching another book which is called The Practical Marketeer? How does it address the gap that was filled with this book?
Sure. So, when I taught brand management at BIM Trichy last semester, I used some very interesting textbooks. And today there are indeed some good textbooks which are out there, which do bring some Indian examples to the fore as well. But each time you read the textbook, you learn about what marketing is. Marketing is about these kind of strategies. Marketing is about these kind of concepts. But how do you do marketing?
Yeah.
How do you practice marketing? Right?
Okay.
Now, again, I remember as a brand manager, when faced with any problem, my business is not happening, I would run to the consumer insights team and say, my stuff is not selling. And the insights team will say, but what's your research question? I was like, my research question is that my business is not selling. So then they would break it down and say, no, that's not the research question.
Absolutely.
The research question is the question you want to ask.
Yes.
And hence I would always ask them, okay, so what are the various kinds of research is possible?
Yes.
And I realized such common or easy knowledge is not easily available.
Yeah.
Right? Because of the way we live and work, not everybody shares all that can be done. And hence I said, all of this basic understanding needs to be democratized.
Yeah.
Every brand manager needs to know what are the various kind of researches, what are the various kind of questions when you're faced with the challenge leading consumers. How do you really interrogate consumers?
Yeah.
One of my favorite learnings is that consumers don't really care about our brands. So if consumers don't care about your brands,
So
then how do you build marketing strategy?
Yes. I think I've been lucky enough to start my career in consumer research and then do brand marketing.
Right.
And you also come from backgrounds you have worked with Britannia, you have worked with the Cadbury, Mondelez, you have worked with Diageo as well. Now diving into that experience, FMCG experience is very different than any other experience. And there's so much insights that they built into their strategies. So you have also created a campaign which is a Diwali ad, the celebration ad, where you are trying to create a category, gifting category. What was the insight? How did you come to an idea of starting and creating a new category altogether? And was it like reshaping consumer habits or versus dominating an existing space?
Sure. So I think my journey with Cadbury Celebrations has probably been one of the most fulfilling journeys in my career.
Okay.
It was also very exciting because, as I became a brand manager, I did about 7 to 8 months in Cadbury Gems. And then I moved into celebrations, and it was a tough role. And my boss knew it's a tough role that he's giving me, and he knew that I have a bit of spunk, so I can do it.
Okay.
Now, when I took on the role of Cadbury Celebrations brand manager, I attended the open house. And my managing director then, very nicely in the open house said, why shouldn't we shut down this brand? And I was like, oh God, what a warm welcome. I'm just getting into the shoes of becoming a brand manager for celebrations, and you want to shut down my brand. Why would you want to do that? So when I took a step back, I realized that while Cadbury Celebrations had been in existence for the last 15 years, the old tricks were not working anymore. We had used Amitabh Bachchan, awareness had reached 100%.
Yeah.
Right? There were already a set of customers that had tried the brand. But there was a large segment of people which were aware non-purchasers. Like, I'm aware of the brand, but I've not bought it.
Correct.
Now, I would sit with these consumers and say, why didn't you buy Cadbury Celebrations this Diwali? Like, is it not a great brand? Is it not a good product? Don't you like the packaging? Should I change the chocolates inside? What is the gap? And what consumers said was something which is very fascinating for me. The consumers just said, I didn't think about it. When I went for shopping for Diwali, I saw some mithai and I bought it, or I saw some dry fruits and I bought it. I didn't think about it. So, like, as a marketeer, how do you solve for I didn't think about your brand? Like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, how do you solve for this?
Yeah.
So then my boss, he then set a very interesting vision. He said that, Sorab, can we own the spirit of Diwali? And I was like, what does that mean? What does owning the spirit of Diwali mean? And we asked for questions. So we interrogated this within ourselves. And we realized that Coca-Cola in the 1900s, early 1900s, owned Christmas.
Yeah.
And the reason why they owned Christmas is because they created Santa Claus. The jolly old man in the red dress was created by Coca-Cola. So he says that's what really owning the spirit of a festival is. So do we need to create a purple Santa Claus? Not necessarily. We need to go out there and understand consumers. So we met consumers in Bombay who were the life of the party, who would collect the money in a building, have a large Diwali party. And then we met consumers in Bareilly, a small town Bareilly. Now those consumers in Bombay who would be the spirit of the party, we asked them that, you had a great party, but do you really know these people? And they're like, not really. I mean, they're all in the building and we meet in Diwali, we party, and then we go our own ways.
Yeah.
Now, when I went to Bareilly, I still get goosebumps when I think about it, because there's this tenant which stayed on the first floor, is a duplex. On the ground floor, the landlord lived, and the tenant said something fascinating. He said, for the last 7 years, both my sons and the landlord's sons have been going to school together, and everybody in school thinks they are brothers.
Okay.
So that closeness of relationships, I realized, is what Diwali is. Diwali is Indian culture. Diwali is brotherhood. Diwali is spirit of societies, the spirit of communities. And in this race towards progress, somewhere we have lost our real ethos behind. So can we bring that back in Diwali? Can we tell somebody in Diwali that this Diwali, don't just call somebody or WhatsApp. Can you go out there and genuinely make somebody happy? And if you're going there to make somebody happy genuinely, the category will grow, because if you're going, you will also gift. And if you gift, you will probably buy some Cadbury Celebrations. So it was a runaway success, and we doubled the brand in the next 4 years. And I get a lot of pride to say that campaign of To is Diwali, Aap Kise Khush Karoge, that we started way back in 2008 till this day sports the same tagline and the same insight.
Yeah. And the same spirit as well. Now, you have also spoken about growing the category in your recent TED Talk as well. How do you make strategies? I want to understand more about the TED Talk that you have given.
Great. Thank you so much. So, I did give a TEDx talk recently at IIM Udaipur.
Okay.
And it should be on the TED portal in the next few months.
Okay.
But really what I spoke about is the fact that when you start your marketing work, when you start strategizing or building your brand or category or company strategy, the fundamental question that needs to be first asked is, am I in this to grow the category, or am I in this to steal share? Because you cannot do both.
Yeah.
You can only do one, and you have to be very clear. And when you choose one versus the other, everything changes. Everything changes from the point of view of how do you approach consumers. Everything changes from the point of view of where you invest, what kind of activations do you do, what kind of strategic choices that you make, right? I think the biggest example of growing category is really what Cadbury Dairy Milk has been doing. So since 1994, the tagline of "Kuch meetha ho jaye" has not changed.
Yeah.
And why? Why for the last 30 years will you say the same thing? The reason is an average European eats about 10 kilos of chocolate a year. Okay?
Okay.
An average Indian has less than 5% of that amount. So, why do Indians have so little chocolate? Is it because we are very healthy? Is it
No.
because we are very fit? Not really, right?
No.
We also eat the same 10 kilos of mithai.
Yeah.
We eat 10 kilos of cham cham, kaju katli, jalebi, all that you want to have.
Traditional
right?
sweets that we have.
Now,
Yeah.
if you can convince people that chocolate is nothing but a modern mithai, you can grow 20x. You got a very large business out there to be had,
Yeah.
right? So hence, through Kuch Meeta Ho Jaye, for the last 30 years, we've just been doing that, right? We've just been doing, you have Dahi Shakkar when you go for an exam. You could also do Shubharam with Dairy Milk. That's a Shubharam campaign. You celebrate a happy moment. Pappu pass ho gaya, you can do that with chocolate. You have home treats in your fridge, so you can do khane ke baad kuch meetha ho jaye. You do, you buy mithai when you're feeling flush. So hence there is Pehli Tarik, which is again a Dairy Milk campaign.
Yeah.
Right? So that is classically grow category. But there is also a second task. And the second task is steal share. Now how does steal share happen? Steal share is not about new users. You're not talking to new category users. You're not talking to somebody who's a non-user. You're talking to somebody who's already using the category. You just have to tell them, don't have this guy who's your current default choice, have me instead.
Yeah.
Now, who does that? And somebody has done that really well, right? And one of the brands that I really admire in our category is called Fog. Now, Fog with their deodorants have the most boring ads.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, liquid, not gas, come on, right? Against the glamour of Axe and the glamour of all the other ads, right?
Yeah.
But why does it work? The reason why it works is, as consumers don't really care about our brands, consumers beyond a point don't even care about categories.
Yeah.
So, what do consumers say? Consumers say there are two kind of categories. So, there is deodorants. They come in this black colored can, largely used by boys in college hostels. They don't need to take baths. They can just put fiff on some gas. Or you could have perfumes, which could bankrupt a household,
Yeah.
right? It could be 20,000, it could be 2 lakhs, right? An ideal anniversary gift. A perfume is liquid, comes in glass bottles. Deodorant is gas, comes in cans. So what Fog did is they just took some perfume, put it into a can, and they said liquid, not gas.
Yeah.
And the simple fundamental insight of saying that I can give so much more value entirely shifted the category in their favor. And that's steal share. And hence, the first question that any business owner or category creator or brand manager needs to ask is, am I in this to grow the category or am I in this to steal the share? And if you're talking about growing category, talk to non-users. If you're talking about stealing share, talk to existing users. And
Yeah.
then build your strategy.
Saurabh, you have guided brands into international market. What is a non-traditional way for testing consumer abroad, and how can brands leverage digital tools to soft launch in the international market without burning too much cash?
Great. So I would say that some of the examples which for me have really worked out are when I was heading the marketing for Britannia's international business.
Okay.
So now Britannia in biscuits was the number 2 brand in biscuits in UAE. And it was interesting. Why would that be, right? We are an Indian company. Why would we be doing so well there? The reason is because almost 26% of the country of UAE are actually Indians.
Okay.
Another 25% say South Asians, Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Nepalis, and even Filipinos, right?
Okay.
Now, all of them have certain similarities. One, yes, they look for affordable, value-sensitive products. Categories like a Britannia cookie are something which is pretty common in all these Southeast Asian countries, right? Versus the, say, larger cookie or cream-based portfolio that the West consumes, versus the East part consumes biscuits similar to Good Day, and hence that's one cultural similarity. But more often, there is a certain emotional coherence, right? The fact is, a South Asian never really feels at home in UAE, even if they have been living there for the last decade, right? Because they don't get nationality there.
Yeah.
And hence they don't feel rooted, right? And for somebody to feel rooted is very important in a national consciousness, right? Now, while in India, Good Day is about smiles and it's about knowing your neighbors, right? And that is because I talked about in Cadbury Celebrations, there's a sense of insularity. Now, that's not really there in Dubai, but what is missing in Dubai is a sense of togetherness. So there what we did is we used these digital channels to reach out to South Asians in particular and say that, if you want to feel a sense of togetherness, you meet any fellow Asian and just share a packet of Good Day.
Okay.
Right? And
Yeah.
that was one way in which we are able to reach out to them with a very relevant message. And a lot of these messages also tend to become viral.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that we did, which is again in Dubai, but here we went out not just to the Asians, but also to the regular customer, as is because of digestive. Now,
Okay.
Britannia digestive only is 2% of the biscuit category in India.
Yes.
But digestive is the largest biscuit category in UAE, almost 12 to 14% market share.
Okay.
Right?
That's
So I,
interesting.
always joke about the fact that an Indian, before he gets on the flight, he has a Britannia Mari in chai. When he lands in Dubai, he has digestive.
Digestive.
Yeah. Now, there we realized that digestive is about fitness. So hence we went after marathons. So not only did we sponsor marathons and give a lot of sampling of Britannia digestive, but we also picked up micro influencers because we knew for each of the cohorts of people that we are targeting, there are certain influencers which get massive scale. And hence I would say influencer marketing, if done right. And influencer marketing is not very easy, right? Because if you give too much of branding, there will be no reach.
Yeah.
If you have too much of engagement, there is no branding.
Yeah.
So you have to walk the thin line of getting your product or service to genuinely fit into a context that the influencer enjoys talking about. And if you do that really well, and that's what we did with Britannia Digestive, we actually were able to shift market share year on year based on a set of influencer campaigns and the relevant touch point of marathons.
Nice, interesting. Now, also we are seeing that a lot of brands are using AI, mixed reality, AR, VR, everything basically. Do you see that as going to replace the traditional way of marketing, or is going to elevate the traditional way of marketing?
See, I always say there are two ways of reaching out to consumers. The first is advertising. Advertising is the simple gap between what do you currently believe about my brand versus where do I want to take you. And you have to break that down in one simple line.
Okay.
That is advertising. The other thing which is different is consumer engagement.
Yeah.
Consumer engagement is about figuring out what is the consumer currently talking about
Okay.
and how do I fit into that conversation through the lens of my proposition. Okay, now a perfect example for both of this is Pidilite. Pidilite with Fevicol for the last 40 years have just said it is the ultimate adhesive and nothing else.
Yes.
Right? Nothing sticks things better than Pidilite or with Fevicol, right?
Yeah.
And they have made beautiful advertising of people stuck to a Bombay local, right? Or a large number of people traveling together in a truck, right? These are all funny takes that they have taken, right? But what happened recently in the Ronaldo controversy, when Ronaldo shifted his 2 bottles of Coke and had water instead, what we realized then is the fact that Coca-Cola lost global shareholder value of almost $4 billion.
Yes.
So Pidilite of Fevicol had a very nice cheeky take, saying कि boss अगर Fevicol रखा होता
तो
तो
नहीं
वो
होता.
Coke की bottle shift नहीं होती. Now that is a fun way of doing consumer engagement through the lens of your proposition. So your proposition comes first.
Yeah.
Then if you're able to figure out what is the consumer talking about, then you can seed in your message through consumer engagement.
Okay.
Because the consumer is already talking about that conversation, the amount of reach that you will get inorganically will be massive.
Okay.
And hence solve for a cost-effective campaign.
Okay. How do you see brands using MR to sell everyday product is going to be in next 5 years?
Right. So, like I talked about the fact that consumer engagement leverages what consumers are talking about.
Okay.
Then it has to not only talk about what consumers are talking about, but it also has to be share worthy. They should be wanting to share that information because that's the next stage of media marketing,
Okay.
right? So for advertising, it was about how many people I can reach. Next, digital marketing was about how many people I can reach at the lowest cost per click. Now, the next phase of marketing is about saying that how many people can I get them to share my offer or my advertising tool, and that's where mixed reality comes in.
Okay.
I would say some of the most innovative campaigns that I've seen with Britannia, I think some of them done by Flam as well, right, have really leveraged that insight very well to say that when there is a compelling consumer occasion, say it could be Republic Day, it could be Christmas, it could be Valentine's Day, can I offer the consumer the tools to create their own piece of creative assets, which they would like to share? And again, one dawning new reality is that 10 years back, what was BPOs, business process outsourcing, where everybody was working in a call center, today that is content creators. Today everybody is a content creator, whether you put up a simple post on LinkedIn, whether you display an innovative message as your WhatsApp status,
Yeah.
in some shape or form you're creating content. And innovative tools like mixed reality allow a regular consumer to become a content creator,
Yeah.
to create something share-worthy, to celebrate their everyday occasion, their everyday moment. And that's where these are great tools for marketing 2.0, where it is no longer just about how much reach I can get, not just about what is the lowest cost per click, but really how do I create something share-worthy, and at the lowest cost of creating of a tool, can I get the highest reach because it is something that consumers want to hook onto.
Very interesting. Now, I also want to understand there are two touch points right now for the consumer to buy any product, which is one is retail and one is online. Could you see a possibility of MR creating a space where consumer can experience a product before they actually go to these touch points and buy the product?
Great. I would say that when Meta launched the whole concept of metaverse a couple of years back, that was really the vision that they shared. Now, there might be skeptics to say that the vision has not come true because, the metaverse has not really taken off.
Yeah.
But really, in a very subtle manner, mixed reality or metaverses are really growing in our worlds,
Yeah.
right? Now, my sons spent most of their life playing Minecraft. They are in a different reality whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
Similarly, I would say certain brands which have done this really well. There is this optics brand, right, who can allow you to buy your specs by actually checking exactly how do you look.
Correct.
Recently, I bought a Mocabra suitcase, a trolley case, right, and they had on Amazon a very simple way of saying that in your room, how does that trolley look?
Yeah.
Right, it's a very simple way of using mixed reality. Very
Yes.
subtle ways, I would say that brands are already using some of these concepts to bring their product and services out in the real world, which we can experience and find delight in.
Thank you so much for such a beautiful session with us. Thank you so much for coming.
Great. Thank you so much. It's absolutely been a pleasure. For more insights, do add me on LinkedIn. Go through my website, www.thepracticalmarketeer.in, and do pick up your copy of The Practical Marketeer. I'm sure you'll find a lot more than where this conversation is coming from.
Thank you.